Here's something you won't believe. My daughter, my only child, the person I raised alone for 18 years, dropped me off at a nursing home on Christmas Eve. Not because I was dying. Not because I needed specialized care, but because I was inconvenient. She handed me a small suitcase, kissed my forehead like I was a child being dropped at daycare, and drove away without looking back. I stood in that sterile lobby watching her taillights disappear, thinking my life was over. But what my daughter didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that the director of that nursing home was someone from my past. Someone I'd saved 30 years ago. Someone who owed me everything. And when she walked into that lobby and saw me standing there, everything changed. If you want to know who that director was, what happened next, and how my daughter's cruelty became the catalyst for the most unexpected chapter of my life, stay with me. And please, before we begin, subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. Because this story is about what happens when the people who abandon you have no idea who you really are, or who's waiting to catch you when you fall. Let's begin. My name is Eleanor Martinez, and I'm 76 years old. The day my daughter abandoned me was December 24th, 2023, Christmas Eve. The day was gray and cold, one of those winter days where the sky looks like it's pressing down on you, making everything feel smaller and more hopeless than it should. I should have seen it coming. The signs had been there for months, maybe years. But mothers have an extraordinary capacity for denial when it comes to their children. We see what we want to see. We believe what we need to believe. And I'd believed, right up until Nicole pulled into that nursing home parking lot and told me to get out and start your new life, that my daughter loved me. But I'm getting ahead of myself. This story doesn't start with abandonment. It starts 67 years ago, with a little girl born in Puerto Rico to parents who worked in the sugarcane fields and dreamed of something better for their daughter. That little girl was me. I came to New York City when I was 9 years old. My parents had saved for years to make the move, believing that America was the land of opportunity, that education was the key to everything, that their daughter would have chances they never had. We lived in a tiny apartment in the Bronx, 3 of us in 2 rooms. My father worked construction. My mother cleaned houses. I went to public school and learned English so fast it scared me. One day I was thinking in Spanish, the next I was dreaming in English. I was a good student. Not naturally brilliant, but determined in that way children of immigrants are when they understand the weight of their parents' sacrifices. I got scholarships. I went to college, City University of New York. I studied social work because I wanted to help people like my parents, people who worked themselves to exhaustion and still struggled to make ends meet. I met Nicole's father, David Martinez, when I was 23. He was a law student, charming and ambitious, from a middle-class family that looked at me like I was exotic and slightly concerning. We got married quickly. I was pregnant with Nicole before we'd been together a year. David's family was horrified. Mine was thrilled. Cultural expectations about marriage, about children, about respectability, they're powerful forces. Nicole was born when I was 24. David left when Nicole was 2. He'd passed the bar, gotten a job at a prestigious firm, and decided that a wife from the Bronx with a social work degree and a Puerto Rican accent wasn't the image he wanted to project. He paid child support, I'll give him that. But he wasn't a father in any meaningful sense. He'd see Nicole maybe 3 times a year, always with his new wife present, always at scheduled, convenient times that didn't disrupt his real life. I raised Nicole alone. I worked as a social worker for the city. Specifically, I worked with at-risk youth, kids who'd been failed by every system designed to protect them. The pay was terrible. The hours were worse. But the work mattered. I was helping kids who reminded me of myself, kids who needed someone to see their potential, to fight for them, to believe they deserved better than what circumstance had given them. Nicole grew up in that world. She spent afternoons at my office doing homework while I finished case files. She met the kids I worked with, kids from broken homes, kids in foster care, kids who'd seen things no child should see. She saw me fight for them, advocate for them, sometimes bring them into our own home when they had nowhere else to go. I thought I was teaching her compassion. I thought I was showing her that a meaningful life is one lived in service to others. I thought wrong. What Nicole learned, apparently, was that my work took time away from her, that helping other people's children meant I was less available to her, that my modest income meant she didn't have the things her classmates had. She grew resentful in ways I didn't fully recognize until it was too late. Nicole went to college on a scholarship. Her father paid some, I paid what I could. She worked part-time. She studied business, got an MBA, took a job at a consulting firm. She married a man named Greg who worked in finance, who came from money, who looked at me like I was a relic from a previous era. They had 2 children, my grandchildren, Emma and Lucas, who I saw perhaps 4 times a year, always on Nicole's schedule, always when it was convenient for her. As I aged, the distance between Nicole and me grew. She moved up in her company. She bought a house in an expensive suburb. She sent her kids to private schools. Her life expanded while mine contracted in the way lives do when you reach your 70s. I retired at 68. My pension was modest. My savings were adequate but not abundant. I lived in a rent-controlled apartment in the Bronx, the same neighborhood where I'd grown up, surrounded by memories. At 73, I started having health issues. Nothing catastrophic, arthritis in my hands, high blood pressure controlled with medication, the general deterioration that comes with age. I could still take care of myself, but I was slower, more careful, aware of my own fragility. Nicole suggested I move closer to her. "We should look at senior living facilities," she said during one of her quarterly visits. "Something nearby so we can see you more often." "I'm fine in my apartment," I said. "Mom, you're not getting any younger. What if you fall? What if you need help? I have neighbors. I have friends from church. I'm fine. You're being stubborn. I'm being independent." We had variations of this conversation for the next 2 years. Nicole would bring brochures for assisted living facilities, expensive places with amenities I didn't need and couldn't afford. I'd politely decline. She'd get frustrated. I'd feel guilty for not being the kind of mother who made things easy for her daughter. At 75, I had a minor stroke. Nothing severe. I recovered quickly, regained full function. But it scared Nicole in a way nothing else had. "You can't live alone anymore," she announced when she visited me in the hospital. "Greg and I have discussed it. We found a place." "What kind of place?" "A care facility. It's nice, Mom. Clean. Safe. They have activities, nurses on staff. You'll be taken care of. I don't need a care facility. I can take care of myself." "The doctor said you're at risk for another stroke. You need supervision. I need my independence. You need to be realistic. You're 75. You live alone. You have no support system. I have friends who are all your age or older. Mom, I'm trying to help you. By putting me in a home? By making sure you're safe." I could see it in her eyes. She'd already made the decision. This wasn't a conversation. It was an announcement. 2 weeks later, on December 24th, Nicole picked me up from my apartment. She'd hired movers to pack my things, or at least the things she'd decided I needed. Most of my life was being put in storage. "We'll sort through it later," she said, which was code for "we'll throw it away when you're not looking." We drove for 2 hours. Nicole barely spoke. I asked where we were going. "Upstate," she said. "It's peaceful. Have you visited this place?" "Online. It has excellent reviews." "Online," I repeated. "You're moving your mother to a place you've only seen online." I spoke to the admissions coordinator. She assured me it's well run. We pulled into the parking lot of a facility called Riverside Senior Living. It was a large, institutional building, trying very hard to look warm and welcoming. Flower boxes in the windows, a covered entrance, a sign promising dignified care for your loved ones. Nicole helped me out of the car. She handed me a suitcase, one small suitcase containing a fraction of my belongings. "They provide everything else," she said. "Bedding, toiletries. You just need personal items." We walked into the lobby. It was decorated for Christmas, a tree in the corner, garland on the reception desk, gentle Christmas music playing from hidden speakers. But underneath the decorations, it smelled like every institutional facility I'd ever visited. Disinfectant, industrial cleaning products, the particular scent of places where people go to wait. Nicole approached the reception desk. "Eleanor Martinez," she said to the young woman sitting there. "We have her checked in for admission," the receptionist typed on her computer. "Yes, I have her file. If you could just wait here, our director likes to personally greet new residents." We sat in the lobby. Nicole checked her phone. I looked around at the other residents, elderly people in wheelchairs, some using walkers, some sitting in the common area staring at the television. They all had the same expression, resigned patience. The look of people who'd been told where to be and had stopped arguing. "I don't belong here," I said quietly. Mom, give it a chance. I'm not like these people. I can walk. I can think clearly. I don't need this level of care. You need supervision. After the stroke was minor. The doctor said I could live independently with medication management. The doctor said you were at risk. I'm not going to sit around waiting for you to have another one while you're alone in that apartment. So you're putting me here to ease your conscience. Nicole's face hardened. I'm putting you here to keep you safe. If you can't appreciate that, then I don't know what else to say. Before I could respond, I heard footsteps. A woman's voice, Eleanor Martinez? I looked up, and my heart stopped. Standing in front of me was Maria Santos. Or rather, Dr. Maria Santos, according to the name tag she wore. But I would have recognized her anywhere. 30 years hadn't erased the face of the 15-year-old girl I'd pulled out of an abusive foster home, fought for, advocated for, helped get into college despite a system designed to fail her. Maria stared at me, her professional smile freezing, then melting into shock. Eleanor? Her voice cracked. Miss Eleanor? I couldn't speak. I just nodded. Maria looked at Nicole, then back at me, then at the admissions file in her hand. I watched her process the information. Her former social worker, the woman who'd saved her life, was being admitted to the facility she now directed. And her daughter had no idea who I was, what I'd done, or why Maria Santos owed me everything. I'll take this intake personally, Maria said to the receptionist, her voice suddenly very formal. Then to Nicole. If you'll come with me to my office, we need to discuss your mother's care plan. Nicole looked surprised, but followed. I stayed in the lobby, my mind reeling. Of all the facilities in all of New York State, my daughter had chosen the one directed by Maria Santos. A girl I'd fought for 30 years ago. A girl who'd promised me, the day she graduated from college, that she'd spend her life paying forward what I'd done for her. In Maria's office, I sat while Nicole signed paperwork. Maria asked questions. Medical history, medications, emergency contacts. Nicole answered efficiently, like she was filling out a form for a car rental rather than admitting her mother to long-term care. And you'll be visiting regularly? Maria asked, her eyes on Nicole. Of course, Nicole said. As often as I can, which is how often? Nicole bristled at the tone. I live 2 hours away. I have a family, a job. I'll visit when I can. Once a month? Once a week? I don't see how that's relevant. It's relevant because I need to understand how much family support your mother will have. Residents with regular family contact do significantly better than those who don't. She'll be fine. That's why I'm paying for this place. Maria looked at me. I saw decades of emotion in her eyes. Gratitude, anger on my behalf, confusion about how someone like me ended up here. Ms. Martinez, she said carefully. Would you like to discuss your admission? Because you have rights. You can refuse to stay here if you don't want to. Nicole's head snapped toward Maria. Excuse me? Your mother is mentally competent. She doesn't have a legal guardian. She can choose whether or not she wants to be admitted to this facility. She needs care. She needs support. There are many forms of support that don't involve institutional living. Nicole stood up. I don't appreciate your tone. I'm doing what's best for my mother, are you? Maria's voice was steel wrapped in silk. Because from where I'm sitting, you're dropping off your mentally competent, physically capable mother on Christmas Eve because it's convenient for you. How dare you? I dare because I've been in this field for 25 years. I know the difference between a family making a hard but necessary choice and a family warehousing an inconvenient elderly parent. The room went silent. Nicole looked at me. Mom, do you want to stay here or not? I thought about my apartment, about my life packed into boxes and storage, about the fact that Nicole had already dismantled my independence without asking if I wanted it dismantled, but I also thought about Maria Santos. About the fact that she was here, that she remembered me, that she'd already shown in 2 minutes that she would protect me in ways my own daughter wouldn't. I'll stay, I said quietly. For now. Nicole finished signing the paperwork and left. She kissed my forehead, a gesture so perfunctory it felt like mockery, and said she'd call soon. Then she walked out of that office, got in her car, and drove away, leaving me in a nursing home on Christmas Eve. Maria waited until Nicole was gone before speaking. Miss Eleanor, she said, and I heard tears in her voice. I can't believe... Why didn't you tell her who I was? She doesn't know about my work? Not really. She knows I was a social worker, but she doesn't know the kids I helped. She never wanted to know. Maria sat down heavily. You saved my life. You know that, right? I was 15 years old in a foster home where I was being beaten, and you were the only person who believed me. You fought the system for months to get me moved. You helped me apply for college. You paid for my books when financial aid didn't cover it. You came to my graduation. She stopped, overcome. You did the work, I said gently. I just opened some doors. You opened every door. And now your daughter drops you here like you're disposable. She thinks she's helping. Bull. She's helping herself. She's clearing her conscience without actually doing the work of caring for you. I couldn't argue with that. Maria stood up. Okay, here's what's going to happen. You're staying here tonight because it's late and you have nowhere else to go. Tomorrow we're going to talk about what you actually want. Because you don't belong in long-term care. You belong in independent living, maybe with some support services, and I'm going to make sure you get that. Maria, Miss Eleanor, you spent your career fighting for people who couldn't fight for themselves. Let me return the favor. That night, I slept in a room at Riverside Senior Living. It was clean, impersonal, equipped with a hospital bed and a small television. Through the thin walls, I could hear other residents, some calling for nurses, some talking to themselves, some just breathing the labored breaths of people at the end. I cried. Not loud, dramatic tears, just quiet, steady crying that comes when you realize your life has changed in ways you can't control. The next morning, Christmas Day, Maria came to my room early. She brought coffee and pastries from somewhere outside the facility. Merry Christmas, she said. Merry Christmas. I've been thinking, she said, sitting in the chair next to my bed. You can't stay here. This place is for people who need skilled nursing care. You don't, but your daughter has paid for 6 months up front, which means she's not taking you back anytime soon. I know. So here's my proposal. I live 20 minutes from here. I have a guest house. It's small, 1 bedroom, but it's private. You can stay there while we figure out your next steps. You'd have independence but support if you need it. Maria, I can't impose. You're not imposing. You're accepting help from someone who owes you more than she can ever repay. You don't owe me anything. I owe you everything. And I'm not going to watch you deteriorate in a facility you don't need, just because your daughter can't be bothered to actually care for you. I wanted to refuse. I wanted to say I was fine. I could handle this. I didn't need rescue. But the truth was, I did need rescue. My daughter had abandoned me and I had nowhere to go. Okay, I said. Thank you. Maria helped me pack the small suitcase Nicole had left me with. We told the staff I was checking out for a medical evaluation, which was technically true. Maria was evaluating my needs. We got in her car and drove to her house. Maria's home was beautiful, a modest but well-maintained house on a quiet street, with a separate guest house in the back. She'd bought it 5 years ago, she told me, after decades of saving and finally achieving the stability she'd dreamed of as a teenage girl in foster care. This is my retirement plan, she said, gesturing to the guest house. I was going to rent it out eventually, but I'd rather have you here. The guest house was small but perfect. Bedroom, bathroom, kitchenette, living area. It had everything I needed and nothing I didn't. I'll pay you rent, I said. You'll do no such thing. Maria, Miss Eleanor, you paid for my college textbooks when I was 18. You can live in my guest house rent-free. End of discussion. I moved in that day. Maria brought over groceries, helped me arrange the furniture, made sure I had everything I needed. That evening, we sat in her main house drinking tea, and she asked the question I'd been avoiding. What do you want to do about Nicole? I don't know. She needs to know that what she did was wrong. She thinks she was helping me. She thinks she was helping herself. She warehoused you so she wouldn't have to deal with the inconvenience of an aging parent. That's not love, Miss Eleanor. That's selfishness. She's still my daughter, and you're still her mother. A mother she abandoned on Christmas Eve. I called Nicole 3 days later. She sounded surprised to hear from me. Mom, how are you settling in? I'm not at the facility anymore. Silence. Then, what do you mean? I left. The director determined I didn't need that level of care. The director can't just let you leave. I'm mentally competent. I can leave whenever I want. And I did. Where are you? I'm staying with a friend. What friend? Someone from my past. Someone I helped a long time ago. Mom, this is ridiculous. I paid for 6 months at that facility. You can get a refund. That's not the point. The point is you need care, and now you're off somewhere with some random friend. Her name is Dr. Maria Santos. She's the director of the facility you tried to leave me in. And she's someone whose life I saved when she was 15 years old. She's not random. She's someone who actually cares about me. Another silence. Longer this time. I care about you, Nicole said. But her voice had gone defensive. You have a funny way of showing it. I was trying to keep you safe. You were trying to make me someone else's problem. There's a difference. That's not fair. You dropped me off on Christmas Eve, Nicole. You handed me a suitcase and drove away. You didn't ask what I wanted. You didn't consider alternatives. You decided I was inconvenient and you solved the problem. I had plans. I know. Christmas with Greg's family. And I would have disrupted those plans. So you got rid of me first? I heard her crying on the other end of the line. You don't understand what it's like. You've always been so independent, so strong. I thought you'd be fine. I was fine. Until you decided I wasn't. We didn't speak for weeks after that. Maria and I settled into a routine. I helped her with small tasks, grocery shopping, cooking, organizing her files. She helped me navigate my new life, doctor's appointments, medication management, rebuilding some semblance of independence. We talked a lot during those weeks. She told me about her life, the years after I'd helped her, the college degrees, the graduate school, the career and senior services that she'd chosen because she wanted to do for others what I'd done for her. You're the reason I do this work, she said one evening. You showed me that one person can change a life. I wanted to be that person for as many people as I could. You've succeeded, I said. You've built something remarkable. I've built something because you believed in me when no one else did. Nicole called again in February. I want to see you, she said. Okay. Can I come to where you're staying? Yes. She came the following weekend. Maria made herself scarce, giving us privacy. Nicole walked into the guest house and looked around, taking in the small but well-appointed space, the signs of a life being rebuilt. This is nice, she said. It is. Who is this woman? Really? I told her about Maria, about pulling her from an abusive foster home, about fighting the system, about helping her get to college, about watching her build a life from nothing. I didn't know you did that, Nicole said quietly. You never asked about my work. You only knew it took time away from you. I was a kid. I resented it. You're 46 now, old enough to understand that a meaningful life involves more than just your own family. Nicole sat down heavily. I've been thinking a lot about what you said, about abandoning you, and you're right. I was making you someone else's problem. I told myself I was helping you, but really I was helping myself. I didn't want to deal with the guilt of seeing you age, seeing you become more fragile. It scared me. So I put you somewhere I wouldn't have to see it. That's honest. It's also horrible. I'm a horrible daughter. You're a human daughter. We all fail the people we love in ways big and small. The question is what you do next. What do I do next? You decide whether you want a relationship with me based on who I actually am, not who you need me to be. You decide whether you're willing to show up, not just physically, but emotionally. You decide whether you're going to build something real with me or keep performing the role of dutiful daughter while resenting the obligation. I want to build something real. Then do the work. It's been 2 years since that Christmas Eve. Nicole visits monthly now. Real visits. We have coffee. We talk about real things. She asks about my life and actually listens to the answers. She's introduced her children to Maria, explaining that Miss Santos is someone Grandma helped a long time ago, and now she's helping Grandma. Emma and Lucas come to visit sometimes. They like the guest house. They like Maria, who spoils them with cookies and treats their grandmother with obvious affection. They're learning something their mother never learned as a child. That worth isn't measured in money or status, but in the lives you touch and the people you help. Maria and I have become family. Not by blood, but by choice. She's introduced me to other residents from Riverside, people who, like me, don't need institutional care but need community. We've formed a sort of informal network of elders supporting each other, and Maria facilitates it, providing resources and connections. Nicole asked me recently if I'd ever come live with her. We have room, she said. The kids are older now. We could convert the office. No, I said gently. I'm happy where I am, with Maria, with my life. The one I've built with her help, yes, but also the one I've chosen for myself. Do you forgive me? I thought about that. I forgive you for being human, for making a selfish choice out of fear. But Nicole, forgiveness doesn't erase what happened. It doesn't mean I'm going to pretend that being left at a nursing home on Christmas Eve didn't hurt. I know. And it doesn't mean I'm going to rebuild our relationship on your terms. If we're going to have something real, it has to be built on honesty and mutual respect. Not obligation. I want that. Then let's build it. My daughter left me in a nursing home on Christmas Eve. She had no idea who the director was. She had no idea that her attempt to warehouse me would lead me to the person who'd been waiting her entire adult life to repay a debt. She had no idea that her cruelty would become my liberation. But more than that, she had no idea who I was. She'd never bothered to know the woman who'd spent her career saving children like Maria, who'd built a life of meaning and service, who'd touched more lives than she'd ever know. To Nicole, I was just mom, a role, a function, eventually a burden. Finding Maria again reminded me that I was more than that. I was Eleanor Martinez, social worker, advocate, the woman who'd fought for kids no one else wanted to fight for. And that woman didn't belong in a nursing home waiting to die. She belonged in the world, still making a difference, still mattering. If you've ever been made to feel invisible by your family, if you've been warehoused or discarded or told you're inconvenient, please know you are more than their failure to see you. You are the sum of all the lives you've touched, all the kindnesses you've extended, all the fights you've fought. And somewhere, someone remembers. Somewhere, someone is waiting to repay the debt. Somewhere, your past is waiting to save your future. Subscribe to this channel for more stories like this. Stories about people who were thrown away and found something better. About debts repaid in unexpected ways. About the strange mathematics of kindness, where what you give always comes back, just not in the form you expected. Thank you for staying with me through this journey. Thank you for witnessing this story. In a world that often tells us elderly people are disposable, thank you for seeing that we're still here, still whole, still worthy of love and dignity and choice.